Hello, everyone out there in Tampa Bay and beyond. This is James Knowles coming at you for the RBLR Sports Podcast. I'm here tonight to cover the Rowdies like we usually do. And I'm here tonight
Yep.
with my usual co host, Carlos, to talk about the Rowdies and anything that is related to the Rowdies or not, depending on how many times we get sidetracked today, how many
Yep.
tangents we find on our path. But to start us off on one of those potential tangents, Carlos, how are you doing this evening?
I am good, James. I'm good. I got too tired to stay at my office till 5. I got a quick workout in, and now we're here, and we're gonna have a good evening. We're gonna talk rowdies. We're gonna talk about a fun enough game.
Fun enough.
Honestly, it was a good game. If you're a neutral, I think you got a good enough game. Probably wasn't the game of the week, but it was a good game. And we'll break it down a little bit and talk about maybe if it was fair for both teams. Um, we'll talk about how I got the prediction right.
Exactly right.
We'll talk about that. But yeah, no, I'm good, James. I'm good. It's a beautiful day in Washington D.C. It's sunny. It's in the 70s, and I'm feeling good. So how are you doing, James?
I'm doing all right as well. It is a gray day here, and perhaps I've said this before, but living in Florida, honestly, gray days aren't bad because otherwise it's just blazing, blindingly bright outside. So I think that the gray days are okay. Maybe in Scotland when it's gray all the time, that's a little different. But here it's a nice little treat that we can have, like a cat asking for cheese. But yeah, that's where I am. To turn it back off of our tangent and onto the actual stated subject, it is the Rowdies podcast, the Rowdies portion of the RBLR Sports Show. So we are here to cover this past weekend's action, which was a 1-1 draw away to Rhode Island FC. As Carlos stated, he was the only one to predict exactly that result. So well done
Yep.
to him. Now we will also, after we do our review, host Miami and talk about the game coming up in the formerly known as Jaeger Cup.
Still
And
is to me.
yeah, still Jaeger to me. And whoever said it, our producer just mentioned this tweet, but you can't drink Prinks. So we're going to go ahead and continue drinking our Jaeger for this
You
cup coming up.
probably could drink tires if you really try, but it's not as easy as a liquid like Jaeger. So
I don't think it's not as easy, and it's probably not as advisable.
Yeah, not that like a copious amount of Jaeger is advisable either, but a little bit here and there was fun to enjoy before a game last year. Now it's like, what do you do before a game? You gonna like put on your Prinks tires to go to the stadium and watch the game? Like that's a whole thing. You know what I mean? Never mind. Whatever.
What we need to do is we need to get those giant, like the monster truck tires where you can sit in them and then roll your way to the stadium.
Ooh, yeah.
I don't know if
Maybe
it's
Prinks
practical in any
produces
way.
yeah, maybe Prinks produces the big monster truck tires. We can try and figure something out.
I bet those also cost too much for our podcast to afford. But Eureka, see if you can get it in our books. I mean, maybe you can lower Carlos and my salary just a little
Yeah.
tiny bit to get those. We'll see if we can afford it.
Regardless, a much less convenient name for a good bit than Jägermeister. But we move on.
We move on. So we will cover the review. We will do that preview. And please like and subscribe to us on YouTube or any major podcast platform. If you could as well, please follow RBLR Sports on all your social medias, whichever one you are on. We are also there at RBLR Sports. So check us out and you can follow along with everything we're doing for all of the different teams that we're covering. Obviously, we do the Rowdies, but we do the Sun, the Rays, the Bolts, the Bucks, the Bulls. We are everywhere. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, actually. I mean, we do it all in Spanish as well. So keep that in mind, folks. Let's get into the quick recap here. Your starting 11 against Rhode Island was Jamali Waite in net, Dion Akoff, Brian Schaefer, Nathan Dos Santos, and Charlie Ostrom in front of them. Sebastian Cruz and Max Schneider were the interesting pair in the center of the midfield behind Luis Perez, Pedro Dolabella, and Russell Cicerone, who continued to play as the left winger. Evan Conway was the striker. Obviously, there were moments when this changed, but that was largely the way that it shook out. So it was an interesting lineup that they went with, and not one that we've seen too frequently. It'll be interesting to see once we get there what we might expect from the Rowdies in this Jägermeister / Prinks Tires Cup game coming up here. So we scored it in the first half, and as I think both Carlos and one of our writers, whether it was Parker or Connor, I'm not sure, but between all of us here at RBLR Sports, it was predicted that JJ Williams or Zach Arivo, but probably JJ Williams would be the one to score on us. Lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. Unfortunate that the former Rowdies curse still lingers, and he did it in the 86th minute, so it was a pretty late equalizer to deny us from getting the 3 points that I think we might have deserved in this one.
But the thing is, like Zach Arivo, again, guy doesn't really score that many goals. They scored like 2 in the last couple of years. And like one of them was against the Rowdies. Year before that, he scored again against the Rowdies. This game, he looked like threatening as hell. Like they're going upfield, and he looks like he's itching to take a shot. Like I was scared every time Zach Arivo touched the ball, just because of what I know he's capable of when he plays us. JJ Williams, that goal felt like it was always going to happen. So. It is what it is. We'll break it down again in just a second. Standings update, though. Louisville City lost a game again, which is nice.
Again?
Yeah, definitely not the insanely ridiculous, undefeated hot start that they've tended to get off to every once in a while. They've now lost their 3rd game in 9 played. Opened up the lead for the Rowdies by another point with this draw. Of course, they lost to Pittsburgh at home in Louisville. So Pittsburgh, a team that's going to be pretty good, I think, by the end of the year, but certainly not one of like your top 4-5 teams in the conference. So I think it's a surprising one for sure. You look at the stats in that game and the highlights, because I wasn't watching, obviously, with the Rowdies playing. But looking back at that game, Louisville looked like they had a lot of possession, took a lot of shots, had some pretty good chances. They actually outshot Pittsburgh in this game 24-3, 64% possession in Louisville's favor, 7 shots on target, 2 big chances, quote unquote, missed both of them. Dominated Pittsburgh on the numbers. You'd think it'd be like the numbers indicate like a flipped result, right? Like Louisville should have won this one 2-0. But Pittsburgh did their job, and they held in there, and good for them. Helped us out a little bit at the top of the table. So Rowdies now in first place, staying in first place with 18 points, 8 games played. Louisville, 9 games played with 16 points. So Rowdies opening a 2-point lead early on in the year with a game in hand. The league games will resume after this weekend, which of course, like we said, is a Prinks Tires game. So a big game for the sake of that tournament, but not one that'll affect the standings on this side of things. Charleston Battery has a game in hand on Louisville. They're 3 points back. So, of course, there's a chance for a potential hypothetical win there for Charleston to tie it up in second place on 16. Detroit has 8 games played, 13 points as well. They played a really interesting game against Hartford, who's in 5th place. 8 games played, 13 points. That was a fun matchup. If you're looking for, random lunch break USL highlights like I do sometimes when I'm bored at home and working remote, that could be one you can throw on your TV, on the YouTube app, or on your phone. Detroit Hartford played a really interesting game. 2 of the top 5 teams in the conference. They played to a 2-1 loss for Detroit in Hartford. I don't know why I'm saying this from like the Detroit perspective here. Hartford won 2-1 in a really interesting game. James, Miami's still pretty good. I'll mention them in the table, by the way. They're in 6th place just because we're playing them this weekend. 13 points as well, but they played an additional game, 9 games, instead of Detroit and Hartford's 8. Nothing else really super interesting on the Eastern Conference table. It's the rest of the teams, including Rhode Island, who stays in 10th place. Very early on in the season, of course, one win can swing a team's position pretty dramatically still in that portion of the table at this point in the year. Sporting Jack still does not have their first win of the year. They dropped another one this weekend But they're in good company because their Western Conference last place peers, Monterey Bay, has also not won a game. So two teams, James, that 9 games into the year have still not won a soccer game. Not great. Out west, anything interesting to you, James? San Antonio is in first place, Oakland in second, Orange County third, El Paso fourth, Phoenix in fifth, Sacramento in sixth. It's pretty tight over there. There's not really a clear front runner. El Paso went pretty deep into the year without a loss.
While we're on El Paso, because
Yeah.
we were just talking about the extra time segment that we didn't have too much lined up for.
You're throwing in the news that I saw on Twitter as well. Go ahead, throw that in there.
Yes, I forgot about this until you mentioned it. But El Paso today announced the signing of Danny Fernandez, I believe is his name. If you don't know his name, he is actually a star from Ted Lasso. He is a former academy player who I believe was injured growing up and then turned to acting and has acted as a soccer player in Ted Lasso. Danny Rojas, I believe, is the character's name. I apologize, I have not watched Ted Lasso, but runs around saying his name all the time. If you know the lore, apparently. So he is trying to become a professional player. I don't know, what his chops are. I don't know when he was injured within the academy system, wherever he was. So I guess we'll see if this is anything more than a publicity stunt, but that is announced.
Yeah, I saw that. He played his academy soccer in his hometown and his hometown in Mexico. I can't remember what team or which town it was. But yeah, we'd seen like bits about that he had gotten like a trialist minute or some trialist minutes and even trained with, I think, like Columbus Crew too. Maybe it was one of the MLSB teams as well. So I think people were like giving it like, slack on social media, but I'm like, I think it's a low risk publicity stunt. Like probably not getting paid a ton of money. He's probably just hanging out and fulfilling his dream. And at the same time gets the club some more attention. Good for them. Maybe he's really good though. Who knows? I don't think we play them this year. If we do, I think it would be in the final. So maybe we play Danny Rojas in the final, and that would be quite the story for both them and the Rowdies. They were the other remaining undefeated team. They went deep into that streak with us, but they have since lost 3 games, 3 of their last 5. So Rowdies still remain the last undefeated team in U.S. soccer. Pretty cool. Enjoy that. Don't take that for granted. The fact that we have a 2-point lead on our Eastern Conference foes, Louisville City, with a game in hand, I think is something to be applauded, regardless of how you feel about the draw this weekend. And that's the table, James. Nothing else interesting on the West. One of our upcoming opponents, New Mexico, is in 9th place. But again, I wouldn't put too much stock into like 9th, 10th, because it's so early on in the year. We just drew against a 10th place team in the Eastern Conference, which sounds worse than it does, I think, because of where we are in the year. We'll break it down a little bit. And Lexington still, I think, disappointing everybody with the amount of money they spent and the big names, quote unquote, that they brought into the team this offseason. 10th place out west. James, you mentioned I mentioned it, and then you mentioned it. Perfect prediction. I predicted the 1-1 draw. I'm up to 11 points in our RBLR prediction standings. Eureka's on 13, Connor, the writer, on 10, James, the co-host, on 8, and Parker, our other writer, on 6. I'll plug an article Parker wrote in extra time when we get there. Check out the RBLR website to see our latest from our writers, Connor and Parker. Okay, James, let's jump into this game before we keep rambling about literally anything else. This was a really interesting game, I think. Honestly, I had a good enough time watching it on my couch before I went out into DC. It was a 1-1 draw, obviously. It was a game that had, I think we could say, moments of extensive possession for both teams. Very scary moments early on for the Rowdies as Rhode Island put on the pressure at home. Very scary moments every time Zach Ervo touched the ball.
Actually, yeah.
Very scary moments whenever JJ Williams was generally on the receiving end of a cross into the box because the guy can get up and head anything that comes his way. This is a good team, and I'm not saying that they're going to be like a contender for the title by the end of the year, but they'll figure their crap out. I think I listened to the Rhode Island podcast, whose name I'm forgetting, but I'll plug them because I think they do a really good job in the USL podcast landscape. It's Raising Anchor. That's their podcast name. Listening to their podcast the week before, leading up to our game. And they pointed out just it's a lot of kind of like mental mistakes that led them to their not so great result against Birmingham. Rhode Island's a team with a ton of attacking threat. We saw that this week. JD Williams, of course, is ridiculously good. You had Noah Fuson coming off the bench, who has been a thorn in our side anytime we play Rhode Island as well. You have this kid, Agustin Rodriguez, that we talked about last week. That's been a pretty great revelation for them early on in the year, coming from Argentina. On top of that, you have Zach Ervo playing really great soccer in midfield, distributing the ball. They have Quizera on the wing. They have a number of really impressive pieces to get at you with. And I think we saw that early on in the first half, right? But they've shot themselves in the foot, it seems, early on in the year with some of their bad results. I think that's where you get kind of like this mixed bag of results where they've gotten a couple of impressive wins. They beat a pretty good Hartford team at home. They tied against Detroit, who, again, is top 5 in the conference right now. So is Hartford. They smoked Lexington over there in Lexington, took New England Revolution to penalties, smoked Charleston Battery in Rhode Island, like killed them 4-0. A game where they had a lot of chances, created a ton of offense with limited possession. But then you get to the Birmingham Legion game and you're like, okay, is this team for real? Like, I don't know, right? And then I saw them against the Rowdies, James, and I'm like, 10th place, I want to be beating 10th place team all the time, right? But I do think this team is probably better than their standings indicate, especially on the attacking side of things. To that point, we were under pressure for a lot of that first half. Defense had to lock in a little bit. I don't think it was Brian Schaefer's best game, and Jamali Waite would probably agree.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, right. But like, you know, he's been almost immaculate so far this season, right? So a bad game or a slower game is going to happen every once in a while. They hung in there, and I think I'll just like general conclusion before I let you kind of open your thoughts is I think this is probably a fair result to me, just based off of how much Rhode Island had to work with early on in the game, and then kind of in the middle of the second half as well when they started opening it up a little bit more, and the attack as well. One goal for them is probably more than fair, and I would walk away with a 1-1 draw any day of the week if you showed me the first, like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes of that game and told me we'd come out of with a draw. Like, I'd probably be okay with that.
Right. I agree with that.
I think we got lucky, and, you know, we played well to get that goal in the 29th minute. Dolabella scored beautifully, by the way. But it was very much against the run of play up until that point. So 1-1 draw, annoying, especially with how we conceded at the very end of the game. But I think fair. And I don't think a bad result. Carlos's thoughts. James.
Yeah, I mean, 1-1 is, I think, a fair result. Yeah, and I will focus on a couple of minor details here. The pitch, obviously, is turf, so this isn't something that the players are completely unused to, obviously. Even the ones, well, I shouldn't say even, but maybe even especially the ones coming from League One. There are turf pitches all over USL Championship, all over USL League One, especially League Two if we wanted to keep going. But yeah, so that shouldn't necessarily get in the way. I don't think the weather was even that big of a problem. It rained at points. I'm not even sure if it was raining the whole game, actually.
No, the field was definitely slippery, though. We saw that for sure,
Yes.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think that should impact things such that we ended up, or we can put it down to
Yeah.
that reason,
Yeah.
right? There's no way that either of those things should have been a factor in this particular game. This is a nice stadium, other than the turf, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The New England Revolution, while Gillette Stadium has a real like grass pitch installed for their upcoming World Cup games, they have been playing in this stadium, and so
Really? I didn't
yeah,
actually know
so
that.
it's it's perfectly reasonable, and I think that there again, there's nothing that I would say we can put down to the conditions here.
Yeah.
The Rowdies did not look particularly great in those first, I don't know, 10 or 20 minutes. Probably we
Yeah.
got the goal around the 30th minute.
Yeah.
I
It was a
don't know
good
the
20
exact.
minutes.
I think it was the 28th.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So maybe we had kind of leveled things out by then, and obviously we did get our goal, which was nice. It was well worked. But I think that actually in this particular game, Rhode Island were doing a pretty good job in both the second half, or excuse me, first half and the second half, to beat us down the wings.
Yeah.
That's where they scored their goal. They got the very late. Obviously, it was a cross into the box to JJ Williams, but from out wide, where honestly a player was pretty much open in acres of space at that point to set himself up and get that going. But before we get way into this game, because that was the 86th minute, the first couple of chances all did seem to come from, or maybe not all, but several of them seem to come from out wide. So Dion Akoff is a natural right back. Charlie Ostrom is a natural left back. We brought them in to do that. And I'm not sure if this was a problem of them being caught out a couple of times, or if they didn't have the support that they expected that they would have. But yeah, that we did get burned a couple. And what did the rewatch then? Before we did this recording, I watched the highlights again just to refresh my memory a second time. One of the first chances that Rhode Island had came off of Zach Harivo, actually, his cross into the box. Jamali Waite was very good there to make that save, but it was Dion Akoff not reacting quickly enough in that particular instance to a throw-in. So that was just straight down the line. And I don't think that particular moment is representative of how the Rowdies played. You can't say that we just didn't react quickly enough to all of these little set pieces or all of these little moments. But overall, maybe there was a bit of slowness in this game. And so I would hope, obviously, that would kind of change over the course of the game. As I said, I still think that we did not necessarily cover ourselves in glory in the wide areas, but we did at least start to clean up our act, I would say, after those first couple of chances that Rhode Island had. Because they were inches away from maybe being up 2-0, maybe being up. Yeah, I would say 2-0.
Yeah.
Based on the chances that we saw.
Easily.
Probably could have had 2 goals there, if not for Jamali Waite being. And also, though, this is why you bring in a goalkeeper of his value, of his a skill level. He is a starting level goalkeeper at possibly a higher league than the USL Championship, but I'm so glad that we have him here. If he wants to stay here just to stay in the U.S. and be around Jamaican call-ups in the future, keep him for the next decade. Honestly, we could possibly do that. Yeah. But he proved his worth in this game this last weekend. So I think that those were the broad strokes of where we were not looking particularly good. Carlos, are there other players or moments or items that I did not include in that from Rhode Island and the way that they kind of broke us down?
From Rhode Island, I think you hit the big points. Like I said, I mentioned some of their attacking threat and why it scares me so much, and the names. It was really something when they brought on both Fuson and Agustina Rodriguez, and the guy who actually got the assist by the end of the game, Nick Scardina, who I don't know a ton about, but obviously got the assist. It's an impressive line change, being able to bring at least 2 of those guys on that I know for sure from my limited research going last week into this week. And then Scardina gets the assist. Don't know a ton about him, but Fuson is the guy has been giving us problems in our how many games have we played against Rhode Island? 4 games against them. The last 3, I'm pretty sure he's been around and scored in at least 2 of them. No, he scored in all 3. Yeah, he scored in the past 3 games we played against Rhode Island.
It's crazy.
The guy, I mean, they've scored a lot of goals against us, to be fair, in the last 3. But him and JJ Williams have been, like I said, thorn in our sides. So I think you hit the important parts on Rhode Island. I think they enjoyed a lot of success with like high press. We were struggling a bit to break that not everyone's. We were struggling to break it throughout the game. It took until we got that goal and kind of started to settle into the game later on in the first half, beginning of the second half as well, to kind of push them back a little bit, right? Make them kind of take the foot off the gas just a little bit. Goals change games, like, naturally, right? And when you're not playing well, but you have such a talented roster, like, these moments happen. We have the ball in their half, right? Cicerone is in their corner, drawing 2 guys. Max Schneider is kind of wide open, kind of like at the corner of the goalie box. Puts in a beautiful ball to a guy he has a great connection with from his time in Marshall, and then Union Omaha, and now the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Max Schneider puts a ball literally on his forehead. It was just perfect. Pedro didn't have to move at all. He took a couple steps to get the momentum and slotted a header into the back of the net. Took a bounce right on the line, past the Rhode Island keeper. Beautiful goal. Well worked, well done against the run of play. Came at a great time when the Rowdies needed to relieve some pressure. And it did. That's what it did for them. Pushed Rhode Island back a little bit, like I said, maybe forced them to kind of take their foot off the gas just a tad, until later in the game when they really needed to make a push. But up to that moment, it was Rhode Island, Rhode Island, Rhode Island, Rhode Island. At that point, Rowdies take control of the game just a little bit, able to hold on to the ball a little bit, create their own chance or 2. Dolabella had a great opportunity to double the lead right before the end of the half off of the corner kick, but we didn't really have any other insanely dangerous opportunities.
No.
Other than that, Cicerone, and this is in the highlights too, if you want to look back at this, Cicerone, it was early on, 9th, 10th minute maybe, has a breakaway, but he really has to go do everything by himself. He's sprinting down the left wing.
It's also from a difficult angle.
Yeah. He's sprinting down the left wing from our own half, on a counterattack. Has a really, really narrow angle to try and slot the ball away. I think did everything he could to make it a challenge for Vegas. Or is it Vega? Is it Vega or Vega? No, Vegas. Okay, Vegas. Yeah. Who, by the way, incredible keeper for Rhode Island. He's been solid for them the last 3 years. A challenge to get goals by him too. Cicerone, like I said, I think did a fine job there. But that was the story of the first half, James. It was Rhode Island. Rowdy scored a goal against the run of play, and we're able to relieve some of that pressure because, like I said, up until that moment, it was a lot of high press from Rhode Island, which they eventually resumed and continued to give us trouble. And they lost that kind of rhythm that they had early on for a good 20, 30 minutes. It took them a little bit into the second half to get settled back in, kind of find that momentum that they had at the beginning of the game. And eventually it led to a long spell of possession towards the end of the game, of course, and the goal itself that JJ Williams put away. Like I said, I'm not distraught by that because it seemed like he was going to score. Like he was pushing up heavy. Rhode Island, again, probably deserves one at this point anyway, based on how they played in the first half. And JJ put that. I mean, he got a great ball into the middle and was on the money. JJ, he's incredible. He's a really impressive striker. He had to run back to get that header, by the way. If you look back at this goal, he had to the physics of it don't make sense to me. You just run backwards and there's still enough momentum to swing your head into the ball and force it by Jamali, who up until this point, not that he didn't have a great game because of the goal, but has had a great game throughout this game. So you really had to find something special to put it by him, and he did. It was a great header. He got lost in the back line. I think Schaefer was the guy closest to him, but I don't know if he thought JJ was capable of putting that header away just based on like where he was running. Maybe got a little soft on him right at the end. Other than that, I think the game plan for JJ was fine. I think it was kind of like what I said about Indy's big guy whose name I'm forgetting. JJ kind of just have to like play him close, put a body on him. He's physical, but he's also quick. So just kind of slow him down, be physical on him because he's going to try and out physical you and win out body you for these headers in particular. In this case, he didn't even have to be physical. He was pretty open for a tough header. So, like I said, frustrating way to draw. The draws always feel a little bit nicer when you're on the comeback side of things instead of the blowing, the lead kind of side of things. But we move on. Like I said, we're still undefeated. We are the last undefeated team in U.S. soccer. We're first place in the East with a game in hand over Louisville, who we play this month, I believe, end of the month, right? Yeah, May 30th. So we'll really have a chance to test ourselves on that one. But hey, I don't hate this result, like I said, because I don't think Rhode Island is a real 10th place team. I think they'll figure it out. They're going to score a lot of goals. They're going to continue to do so. And it seems like they can get some impressive results this year if they tighten things up. But they looked really good against us, James. And I don't think the Rowdies are. Can you hear that plane flying by? That's so loud.
Yes.
Jeez. It's really weird. I live like close-ish to Reagan, to Washington National. And like every once in a while, you get a plane flying like right here. You could see it fly by. Anyway, regardless of the American Airlines plane that just flew by, I do think Rhode Island's going to figure things out because they looked really good against us, and I don't think we're like a fraudulent, undefeated team. I think the Rowdies are a really good team, and they impressed me, honestly. So I think this could be a team that continues to scare teams going forward without necessarily having maybe the depth to compete for a title, but they'll get some good results and probably, I think, make playoffs. Although that feels kind of like a low bar since it feels like more than half the teams in this league make playoffs, but we move on. I think that's everything I had on this game. James, do you have anything else you want to talk about with this Rhode Island team?
You did talk about obviously how good they are. That's something worth highlighting in this one. There are a couple of other quick things that I wanted to highlight. Gino Vivi made his debut for the team in this game. So if I'm being perfectly honest, I'm actually not aware if he was one of the injured players who was out for a little while. Yanni Lehrman was out. He has made his debut, and that was as a late substitute, I believe, but he has not played since. So Gino Vivi makes his debut. We have a couple of other players that have not played yet. Andrew Mustali, Gennaro Nigro, Alex Rodriguez has not played in the league. He did play in the cup. Other academy player, Jesse Tita, has not played yet. And Leland Archer still, I believe, is not fully back from injury. So just things to keep in mind there. But good to see that Gino Vivi is back. I think that he'll offer us some more things going forward, especially on the wing. In this case, we might have needed that to balance out the attacking presence that Rhode Island had on their own wings.
Did you see anything from him that impressed you in his limited minutes? I mean, it was pretty late sub, so I was hoping that he would come in and be like, wow, this guy's the revelation. He scores like a banger or something. But he was realistic. He was really only in for 8+ stoppage time, which was another, I think it was 6 or 8 minutes. So he's in for like 15 or 16 minutes. Did you see anything that impressed you about him, or just kind of a standard run of the mill late sub?
Yeah, unfortunately, I did not get to see. I don't even remember how many touches he had in this game, but
it was limited.
It was very limited. So we did not really see the full scope of Gino Vivi, and he's a player that I remember from college. It's obviously difficult to judge because college it's a standard, but it's not like USL Championship. I think that players still struggle even getting up to USL League One, let alone Championship or MLS. So you can't just jump in and it's apples to apples there, right? The speed is faster. You have to think that much more quickly through each individual decision that you're doing in each action. So obviously, him playing at UCF doesn't mean that he's going to be a good player here, but I do think that he has. I do think that he has something to offer.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, obviously, we have all of these options in this position. Gino Vivi is more so a left winger. I think that he can also no. I think that he can play on the right as a left footer. Now I'm mixing him up potentially here, but he is a winger. I know that. So the other players that we've had on the wing, obviously Evan Conway has played on the wing. Pedro de la Bella steps out every so often, but he's more of a central player. Russell Cicerone has been on the wing. Louis Perez has been on the right wing as a left footer. And Mateus Oliveira, obviously, is another player who can play out on the wing. So then we've got the wing backs that we've been using, and Alex Rodriguez is an attacking player who has been more defensive. Akoff behind him, Cruz as a fullback, Ostrom at left back. We do have a lot of players who are good in these wide positions.
Nigro coming soon.
Yeah, I forgot about Nigro a second time there. So, it's interesting to see how all of these guys are going to fit into this team. It's a good thing. It's one of those problems you want to have, quote unquote, that coaches talk about. So, I'm excited to see more Gino Vivi at this point. But I did want to highlight that part of this game.
Yeah. He, according to Eureka's Sicko's soccer project that you can find on our website, the Rowdies legacy numbers tracker, Gino Vivi is the 457th player to wear the Rowdies crest on the field in a game. So good for him. Welcome officially. You mentioned that there will be other players who still haven't touched the field that we will see, or have touched the field but in limited capacity, and we'll see what they have to offer and what their place on the team is. But it should be good news to them that Dominic Casciato is no stranger to rotating the lineup at any given Saturday or Wednesday for our weekday games, I would imagine. This was the last thing I'll say about this game that I forgot to mention was talking about the lineup. The lineup was pretty different from what we've seen. Like formationally, it was probably what we're used-ish to with the Rowdies. But you mentioned Conway was kind of probably our main striker in this game. He was pretty quiet. Just didn't have a lot of opportunities because the team as a whole wasn't getting down the field much and creating a ton of opportunities. When it did come, it felt like it was kind of on a counterattack. Like I said, Russell Cicerone making a run, or Dolabella, even Cruz can get downfield from his spot. Our lone goal came off of a header where Dolabella was in the box, so Conway didn't have to do a ton there. But I wanted to mention Akoff, Ostrom, and Cruz being on the field at the same time was really interesting because we've seen Cruz play mostly as a wing or one of the fullbacks. He played on the left one game, which apparently he can do. He's played on the right in most games and kind of come off or on when Akoff is off or on. But in this game, you had all three of these guys on the field, which I think was interesting to me because it seemed to me that Cruz was kind of like in the central midfield, paired up with Dolabella and Schneider. Sorry, paired up with Schneider with Dolabella ahead of them and kind of like the attacking mid role. And then the way I read it on the field was Perez out on the wing, Cicerone out on the wing, and then Conway up top. Super interesting. I think this is just I wanted to highlight this because it seems to me that this is another position that Cruz can apparently play. Mm-hmm. Maybe we've seen him in the midfield at some, like in the central portion of the midfield at some point this season. While like, in those in between minutes where Casciato is bringing on subs, making adjustments. But I can't recall a moment this season where he's played extensive minutes like he did in this one in that portion of the field. I think he was pretty good. I mean, he is a great player. We've seen him play really great soccer on the wing and as a fullback. I think he was pretty solid in this position as well. I think his experience as a fullback lets him have those like defensive traits you want in the midfielder there. But obviously you want a guy that can distribute, get up the field as well, or get down the field. which he can do. So I think he has the talent and the skill set to be able to succeed in that position, and I think he did. But it was just interesting to me. Another position or another spot on the field where one of these like utility guys like Cruz can play. And again, it's kind of like going back to what I said earlier on this year, where it's like for a while that was just kind of like Van Kaziel's role is like he
yeah.
move into a few different roles, but you weren't necessarily like, and it's not a shot at him, like you just weren't like thrilled at like Tom Van Kaziel being like a center back or a right back or like a defensive midfield. Like you kind of just wanted him in like one spot, and you weren't like, oh, like Van Kaziel at the right back, like now he's gonna like get upfield and score a goal, or the right wing back. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't like the attacking threat necessarily that you would love in one of these positions. But Cruz has been like he's been the same kind of utility player, but can do a lot in the attack, and it's been really fun to watch. So, long-winded way of saying he deserves a shout out there. And again, Dominic Casciata surprising us with his constant. I guess the constant lineup shifts aren't a surprise anymore, but there's always a new one. It seems every week.
Yeah.
Like there hasn't been one game where it's been like consistent from one week to the next. Also, by the way, Perez's first start in the league game.
Yep.
So shout out to him on the wing. I think he had a okay game, but again, it was just kind of quiet as a whole in this game. I think maybe with how we played in the first half, this game felt more suited for like the pace kind of wingers, right? Cicerone sprinting down the field, putting his head down and running down the field. Vivi seems like he could be pretty quick, right? I don't think Luis Perez like sprinting down the field is what you expect out of his play style, being like a super quick guy. So I think maybe it's just a little hard for him and Conway to really get involved in this type of game where we're off the ball a lot. So 1-1 draw, Rowdies, Rhode Island. It is what it is.
Let's move on now to our Man of the Match awards. Carlos, would you like to go on this one first, or I can, based on, not based on, I just wanted to highlight one other thing while we were in the middle of it, but go for it.
I'll just throw in Jamali Waite. Pretty easy for me in this one. I think he deserves a shout out. He played a really great game, kept us in this game, especially early on. I know you already made USL Team of the Week at some point in the season, whether it was last week or the week before, I can't remember. But this is certainly a Team of the Week performance. He played his butt off and bailed us out when our back line maybe fell asleep a little bit. So good for him. It was a draw because of him. So, in a positive way. Not like, oh, we only got 1 point because of him. We got a point because of Jamali. Mm-hmm. So, great game from him.
Yes, and speaking of Jamali Waite, it was very funny. I guess it wasn't funny in the moment, but afterwards, watching back, it was funny to see one moment when he was displeased with Brian Schaefer's performance out there and gave him an earful. So I think that's good leadership. If you get to this level by kind of doing stuff like that. So Jamali Waite doing what he needed to do, and hopefully Brian Schaefer obviously taking the message that he needed in that moment. Yeah. On the other side of things, I've been keeping up with this double-digit defensive contributions when I don't see that somebody has a game that I need to award them the man of the match based on everything that they've done going the other way. So I'm sticking with that. Nathan Dos Santos had 11 defensive contributions in this game, and he did not get an earful from Jamali Waite in any particular moment that I remember. He was also not particularly involved or responsible for the goal. So I think that in under these circumstances, that merits his man of the match award. And if you can continue to keep racking up these double-digit defensive contribution performances between him and Schaefer, there's going to be a lot of players of the match already determined down the line for this season. So that's how I came to my decision, and Nathan Dos Santos is my choice. Carlos, do we have anything else, or are we wrapping this one up?
No, that's it. Shout out Waite, shout out Dos Santos, shout out Brian Schaefer for getting the earful, and I'm sure tightening it up.
But taking it like a professional would and moving on to the next play.
No, it's great. I love to see that from a keeper. Like Jamal, and especially Jamal, he seems so like soft spoken when we talk to him.
Yes.
You know? I think that that's great. But I think when you're out in the field, you got to like turn it on a little bit, and it's good to see that you can, right? Um, Especially as kind of like the leader of the defensive unit as a keeper, right? Yeah, hold your guys accountable when maybe someone slips up and falls asleep, but obviously on the same team, patting each other on the back by the end of the game and moving on. So good stuff from him, good stuff from DeSantis. Quick shameless plug before we talk about Miami, the Miami FC. Liking and subscribing. It's free, James. You should do it. But if you need some new threads, check out the podcast by heading over to shop.rblrsports.com and checking out all the fun designs that have been cooked up over there for all your Tampa Bay sporting needs. Links in the description. Use promo code COYR for 10% off your purchase. Again, shop.rblrsports.com for your new RBLR sports gear. Maybe you can wear it if you're making your trip down to Miami this Saturday. I don't know if the shipping would be quick enough, but you could try and at least get it for the next home game coming up later this month against Phoenix Rising. Or maybe you're a sicko and you're traveling all the way out to New Mexico for the next away game. Go for it. Take your RBLR sports gear and get out there. Okay, James. This weekend, 7 p.m., live from Pitbull Stadium in Miami, Florida, on the campus of Florida International University, home of the Panthers. The Rowdies take on the Miami FC, soon to be the Homestead FC. They'll probably keep the name Miami FC, but they'll be in Homestead soon enough. This is a Jägermeister / Prinks Cup game. Again, result will not count to the league standings, but it will count to the cup standings here.
Which is a group stage.
And this matchup is, if you care about this cup, and you should, because it's a tournament, it's put on by the league, it means something, right? Like it's not, some preseason exhibition or anything. It's worth caring about this tournament for the wackiness of the name and all, right? The winner of this game probably wins this group and will move on to the knockout rounds. Not a surefire, but probably, right? There are 5 teams in this group. It's Miami, the Rowdies, Sporting Jacks, Sarasota Paradise, and FC Naples. We already played our first game in this cup, a comfortable 2-0 win against Sarasota Paradise. Miami has played 2 games, though, in this cup. It was a 1-0 win away to Jacksonville, followed up by a weekday game that same week against FC Naples in Miami, a 4-1 win against FC Naples, who disappointing. I thought Naples could put up a really, really good showing in this group stage and really make it kind of a 2-horse race between us and Naples. But Miami's been much better than I think I would have anticipated this season. Early on in the year, they look good in the USL standings. They've taken care of business against the bottom of the barrel Sporting Jacks and the lower tier FC Naples in the cup. And we play a really, really fascinating matchup against them on Saturday. Like I said, winner probably wins the group. First place in the group is the only guaranteed team moving on to the knockout rounds, followed by the 2 second place teams that, James, we said score the most goals. That's the tiebreaker. So like best attacking second place team.
Incentive to go and try and get some goals for sure.
Yeah. Regardless, let's go for that first place finish. We'll worry about other teams getting their goal scoring numbers up to get that best second place spot. Yeah. So this will be, like I said, second group stage game in this tournament. We'll play the rest of the group later on, but as we've seen, Sporting Jacks is awful. FC Naples is a tier below, and we're playing at home. So you would think you win that game. And of course, we already beat Sarasota Paradise. Am I missing any other team in this group?
No, you got it. It is the Florida bunch.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So play away to Miami, play away to Jacksonville again. We won over there already, but it was tight. Hopefully a more convincing win this time. And then home to FC Naples. And that rounds out your group play. So should be light work after this Miami game. I think that's why we say this game's probably the most important one to decide who wins this group. Okay. I wanted to set the table because I think a lot of people are still confused about like what this tournament actually is and maybe where we are in this tournament. So hopefully that clarifies any ambiguity about what we're actually doing here. James, you want to tell us about Miami FC? You've done the scouting report. I think they're an interesting team. They are better than I thought. They are entirely Argentinian for some reason. Tell us what you know about the Miami FC.
Yeah, so I believe that they are actually owned by an Argentinian like ownership group. I don't remember all the specific people involved, but that would at least explain a little bit of their selection. And so, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they line up. They are also trying to incorporate a lot more youth players, and supposedly there is involvement in the scouting process from the people who were involved at DME Academy. DME Academy, think of everybody knows IMG Academy, not necessarily DME. Think of that as the same type of deal, except DME Academy recently had Jan Diamond, if you know that name. And so it is somebody involved that had helped out in bringing Jan Diamond over to the DME Academy, and then obviously he went off to Europe. So they have good scouting, is what I'm trying to say here, and they will have connections to bring youth players in that they ultimately want to sell on to make more money. That is part of the process, I guess, in all of this. We might not necessarily see exactly all of those types of players in this game, of course, but right now Miami is working on a mixture of younger players. I think his name is Sean Bent or Brandon Bent. Brandon
19
Bent.
years old.
Yes, there. Yeah. I think Sean Bent is the brother of Darren Bent, a former player in the Premier League. So I'm mixing up all of these players with the same last name. But anyway, Brandon Bent is one of the academy players that we might see in this one. However, on the other side of things, they are also working on a couple of more veteran players. So Miami, in their good form, 3 wins and a 0-0 draw on the road with Birmingham Legion. They have a couple of players, Alessandro Malesi, Matthew Ndongo, and Arne Rocha, I believe are their names, leading with 2 goals each. That is in the league. Rocha and Mason Tunbridge lead all the attacking stats. If you remember the name Mason Tunbridge, he was with, I think, South Georgia Tormenta before they folded, I guess. Anyway, Miami actually purchased his contract, but whatever amount of money that was, obviously, it was not enough to keep Tormenta solvent for this upcoming season, sadly. So that played no role. Tunbridge, in the meantime, has done pretty well. Started, I think, with a goal and an assist so far, at least in the league. Possibly more, of course, in the actual cup itself, because they have played one more game than we have. So they're likely to want to go out there and win this game, not only because they're doing well so far and they are hosting, but Miami, they have a little bit more ambition, I think, than we've seen, which is positive for us as a local rival to us, hopefully make us better as a team too. But they actually do have like a little bit more of a direction too. I think that's the back office kind of come into play with the players on the field. There are 2 players that I wanted to highlight who are not Argentinian or youth players. These are 2 veterans who have played at a high level. So goalkeeper Eloy Room, I don't know how you would say that from the Netherlands, because that's where he originally is from. But he was with Columbus Crew for several years, and he has moved to Miami to help keep himself fit ahead of the World Cup, where he will be going to play for Curacao. Provided there are no injuries, he will be their starter. He has 4 clean sheets so far this season in the league alone. Want to point that out specifically. Only in the league, 4 clean sheets. So he's a good keeper. He has a good pedigree, and he obviously comes from a very high level. I don't know how well Curacao are going to do in this World Cup. Unfortunately, they are not looking like the best opponent, and
they will concede 8 goals against Ecuador.
And there is the other factor of the opposition that they have to come up with. One of those teams is Ecuador, who honestly, let's recognize that Ecuador is a very good national team. They have a player on both sides of the Champions League final, as Carlos pointed out previously. And other teams that they're going to play, Ivory Coast, where Jan Diamond is, where we were already talking about Jan Diamond.
Crazy
he
attack.
Is one of the best young players, best players of his age group across the world at this point. And then who's the other team that they're playing? Germany. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that was one of the tangents, I guess, that we were going to get onto was World
Yeah.
Cup stuff.
Yeah.
But yes, Eloy Room, regardless, he is going to be a big factor for Curacao. He's going to be a big factor for Miami. I expect him to start this game. There's no reason that he shouldn't. They are going to want to win this one. On the other side of things, one other Curacao player that they have, Jurgen Locadia. He is formerly in the a Premier League player, I believe, with Brighton. And he has bounced around a couple of other places. He didn't have the best of stints recently, but he's still in contention for a place with Curacao. Yeah. And he's going to continue to keep his fitness up and try and obviously get his form up as well with Miami. The good news for us, Tampa Bay Rowdies fans, he was sent off in their game against Naples. That is obviously a cup game. So he will be missing for this game in this competition. That is positive for us. It doesn't mean that we're out of the woods. It doesn't mean that they don't have any attacking talent. Obviously, as I said, Jurgen Locadia is not amongst their top goal scorers. Again, Malaysia, Ndongo, and Arne Rocha. Arne Rocha is going to be probably the best player, or not the best player, but the most dangerous player on the field for Miami FC. And I am interested to see how this one plays out because we had a couple of starters in our first game in the Prinks Tires Cup this season who were not regular starters, let's say. As Dominic Casciotto told me at the time, everybody earned those spots, and I understand that. I didn't, I don't assume that they are, as he said, it's not a charity. I don't think that they are just out there because it's a cup game. But are they going to, are the Rowdies going to say in this case, start Alex Rodriguez again? I would like to see that. I don't know if that's something that they have lined up here. It's to be determined exactly how much they want to go after this one. But yeah, there are good players for Miami, and they actually have a chance to win this one. It's not a foregone conclusion like I think it has been in the past. So I don't know exactly where I fall on this case or on this prediction. We do have two predictions from our writers, and I'm waiting for our producer Eureka to throw his in there. But Carlos, do you have an idea of where you're leaning right now?
Yeah, I'm going to go with a 1-0 win. I feel like I'm not really scared of Miami's attack all that much, particularly with Locadia out. He's the big name. He's kind of like the marquee striker, despite not being their lead attacking guy at the moment. Numbers wise, like he's probably still their most dangerous player. That being said, Ndongo comes off the bench for Miami. He probably gets a start in this game. 19 attacker. I think, I don't know, you tell me if I'm wrong. Played at Rhode Island last year. Seems to have a lot of talent. And he seems to be their other striker. I don't really know if they have another like clear striker. Joel Soniora, is he a striker? I don't know.
No, he is not.
Yeah, I think Ndongo is a striker. Am I right about that?
Yes, he is listed as a center forward. So he is starting to probably step up a little bit more for Miami, especially right now under the suspension circumstances.
Yeah. So again, talented players, I'm sure. This kid Bent is really interesting to me. 19-year-old Jamaican kid who's getting minutes for them. Maybe a pretty young team when we face them, but certainly doesn't mean any less talented because of their age. I'm curious if they have any significant rotation, if they care about resting some guys for this game as well. Yeah, I'm honestly very curious to see how both teams look at the beginning of this game. Yeah, it's important, obviously, for the sake of this group and getting out of the group stage in the USL Cup. I think for the sake of like getting the second place tiebreaker with like the goals and being the best second place team, scoring the most goals, I think you probably missed your window of opportunity to score like a ton of goals, which would have been against Sarasota Paradise, who's not great in League One. Sporting Jacks is like bottom of the table, but I don't think you're scoring like 4 goals against them. Like it's not going to be like a ridiculous blowout. Maybe against Naples you can score a chunk, but again, I think your window to score like a ton of goals was against Sarasota. So this game's probably going to determine if we can get through or not to the knockout rounds. You need a win. James, I see your prediction, so I'll save what I have to say about that possibility on our notes, so you can say your prediction. But I'm curious, like, what the points shape out like if that's the result. I actually don't know. I'm forgetting. James, give us your prediction and remind us what the points look like.
Yeah. So right now, Miami are on 6 points after their 2 games. We are only on 3 points because we have only played 1 game.
Yeah.
Jax, Sarasota, Naples, all on 0 points.
Yeah.
So I am going with a 1-1 draw and a win on penalties. Now, Carlos, I might be wrong about this, but if I'm not mistaken, I believe this goes straight to penalties.
Yeah.
I don't think that they have. I don't think that they will give the 1 point if you get a draw in the group stage in this tournament. I believe that it is one that goes straight to penalties. Although I guess I might have double checked the rules there. Anyway, that is my prediction: 1-1 draw, win on penalties. Our producer Eureka has gone with a 2-1 win. Parker, our writer, 2-0 win. Connor, our other writer, 2-0 win. So everybody has predicted a win. I think that I'm just leaning 1-1 because we've had a string of those, and as I've said, I think Miami are a little bit more than the pushover that we've kind of seen them be we've seen them in the past couple of years.
By the way, if you're curious, I just looked it up on the side while you were talking. Regulation win, obviously 3 points. Shootout win worth 2 points.
Okay.
You get a shootout win. Obviously penalty shootout, you win 2 points. If you go to shootout and lose, you get 1 point. So shootout win would still serve the Rowdies well. We'd still have played 1 game less than Miami. We'd be at 5 points. Miami would end up on 7. So obviously 2 points ahead, 2 points behind with a game in hand. You win out your last 2 games against Jax and Naples, and you finish first in the group. So yeah, go in wanting to win, but if you need to do it via penalties, go for it. I'm not like I care about winning this tournament, obviously. I'm not distraught if we scrape by Miami in penalties. Like, it's fine, especially because I think we'll probably see a little bit of rotation. But maybe not. I mean, it's not like this is interfering with another game we have. You know what I mean? It's not like it's a weekday game and we play an important league game on the weekend. You know what I mean? The rest factor doesn't maybe mean as much then because of that. Of course, you'll have to go to New Mexico the following Wednesday, so it'll be a decent amount of travel there. Maybe you want to rest up some guys for that long trip, but I'm curious to see what Dom puts what the 11 Dom puts out there is like. So
yeah,
we'll see. Interesting game ahead. Curious to see how things roll. Annoying that we have to play at Miami and at Jacksonville twice this year. It's kind of stupid. Like the furthest 2 of the Florida teams, you know what I mean? Would have been nice to just play I don't know. I would do Sarasota away twice. I don't know. Who cares? Not that matters because they're in League One, but we'll see how this plays out. Yeah, good team in Miami. Okay, James. That's it. Did you already say the results of everybody else's predictions?
Yes.
Did I miss it? Okay. I'm on a 1 prediction win streak, so hopefully we go 2 for 2 this week and we get another win. Quick extra time segment. Plugging Parker's article on the RBLR Sports website, rblrsports.com. Go check it out. He attended the showing of Clyde Best's documentary. Heard it was really great. They had a panel situation there with him and the narrator. I think Sudal made an appearance there at some point too, which was fun. I wish I could have gone. Seems like a really, really great film. I think they're coming to DC at some point, which will be exciting. So I can go see that. But yeah, heard good things about it. You missed your window to go check it out this past weekend. I believe that was it in Tampa, right, James?
I think so, yeah.
With the in-person stuff. But check out Parker's recap if you weren't able to go for yourself, or if you did go and you want to relive it, you can see it through his eyes. Parker put this out just a couple days ago. Again, check it out, rblrsports.com to read up on that. I think it's really cool. Rowdy's legend was here for a short amount of time, but obviously such an influential figure in U.S. soccer. Pretty cool that he spent some of his professional years with the Rowdies and had such great things to say about the team. And I think it's really cool that our club got to be a part of his story. And he got to be part of our story because of how like important he was in the world of soccer and you know the weight that his name carries in England. So
yeah,
pretty cool. Good for him. Oh, James gone. No, we're back. Oh, now
yes.
we're good. Okay, and that was
We'll highlight that.
And oh,
I just wanted to highlight as well. This is from our producer Eureka, former Rowdies owner Cornelia Corbett, and legendary goalkeeper Winston DeBose have been named to the Tampa Bay Soccer Hall of Fame class of 2026, which is set to be honored at the induction ceremony at a dinner on Thursday, August 13th at Higgins Hall in Tampa. So I just wanted to point that out as well while we're talking about former Rowdies players.
Yeah. I'm having some crazy internet issues, I guess. I don't know what happened there. Cool. Last thing I'll say, Rowdies and Tembe Sun announced that they're partnering up to do a summer camp. That's fun. It just seems kind of like rare up until this point that we see joint adventures from both of these clubs, even though they're the two local professional soccer teams. So I'm glad to see there's more fun stuff coming in conjunction with both teams. Also, let's figure out this freaking schedule issue, man. It's annoying. I feel like you feel this more than I do. I live over here. I can't go to most of the games for either team. It seems like they overlap so much. So yeah, good to see that they get to overlap here on something cool for the kids. Right. Check it out if you have kids and you want to send them to summer camp, or if I don't know, they should do an adult summer camp too. Let the crew get out there and play some soccer together. That'd be fun. Okay, 6:51 p.m. We have hit an hour and 6 minutes, hour and 7 minutes. Thank you all for listening. Follow us at RBLR Sports on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Threads, everywhere and anywhere you get your doom scrolling. We're there. You can follow me at CarlosTPA10. James, where can folks follow you?
You can use the hashtag AskRBLR, or you can get at me specifically at RBLRJamesK.
Like and subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening to it. You can get the full experience with my scrappy beard that I need to shave on YouTube. But you can also find us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get podcasts and you listen to people talk about things they know nothing about, like me and James. We're there too. James, it's been another week of Rowdy Soccer. I'm blessed that our team is still playing soccer. It's not a given in the world of lower league soccer. So don't take it for granted. Rowdies play another game this weekend in sunny Miami, Florida. Hopefully get 3 points in the Springs Tires Cup for another week of Rowdy Soccer. Come on, you Rowdies.
Come on, you Rowdies.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.